Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint Podcast. Real people, real stories. Chasing dreams, overcoming obstacles. Come get inspired and take action. I know you're ready. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurial Blueprint. It's a casual Friday, but we're giving you another edition, an extra edition this Friday. But we got the man, the myth, the legend, Carnie Fryfogle III. How are you?
What's up, dude? I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to kind of bring you on a special Friday edition. I think more so because I don't think the CR3 franchises, these strategic partners, get enough love from around the country, and I wanted to bring, you work with them every single day, and so you see how hard they're working, and you see the time and effort they put in that. People see the success they're having, but they don't see what it takes to actually attain the success that they're attaining. And so I wanted you to give your firsthand account of what these franchises actually are doing and show some appreciation so people really understand what it takes.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the early days I wouldn't say it's I actually think it's the most fun. So I'm kind of envious to watch people come in, younger entrepreneurs in the sense of business, not young in age, but some are young in age, some are in their 20s or early 30s, but younger in the sense of entrepreneurship and business ownership. Typically, some of them are seasoned veterans, but the early days of starting a company to me, they're the most fun. When you're really bootstrapping things and having to put your nose down and you got to dig and you got to dig deep, but you're able to see the fruits of your labor, and you're able to start to rally a team and start to see things develop and how you're able to infiltrate a marketplace. And the early days for me were always the days that I kind of look back on and I kind of envy and miss a little bit, because it's when you're having fun, man. You don't have it all figured out. You're trying new things. You're trying to get into the marketplace, and you're able to celebrate these wins. But after you've ran 5,000-6,000 projects, like a $15,000 roof or a $20,000 siding project, that would excite you like crazy when you're starting out. But as you start to mature a little bit and it just kind of becomes habitual and a routine, it's not as fun and exciting as what it used to be. So I don't know, there's levels to it in business and your personal relationship with the business. It starts to evolve and change. But I mean, a tremendous amount of effort goes into starting a business, even if it is in a franchise concept, right? Like, we give our franchisees an operating system and a platform to do business. We give them access to approved vendors who've already been pre-screened by us. We already have predetermined, with a lot of our vendors, predetermined pricing. We have a tech stack in place. So our franchisees don't need to go out and find the best CRM system. They don't need to go out and find a new measurement software or measurement tool. So we bring all these resources and relationships to the table, but at the end of the day, like, they're still operating the business. They still have to go out and actually put in the work. We refer to everything from a franchising perspective almost as like a tool shed. Like, you have the land, and then you have a tool shed, but you need to actually use the tools in the tool shed to cultivate the land, to grow a crop that you're able to harvest, and then obviously see some type of profit, or feed your family for that matter. So we really like to refer to franchising as almost like a farm and a tool shed, because we're giving you the tools in order for you to do business and chase your individual goals, but you still have to do the work. And the work is not any easier because you're a franchisee, right? Like, you still have to put in the reps, you still have to hire and develop a team, you still have to develop personally. So these folks that are coming in and joining us, they're going through it, man. It's the early days of business. It's paycheck to paycheck, job to job, employee after employee. And what they're doing is no small feat by any means. And just because they're with a franchisee or a franchisor doesn't mean that it's a sure bet by any means. So tremendous amount of effort. I always tell everybody, if you want to build a 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 20, $50 million company, regardless of the size of it and the magnitude, it's going to be hard. Building a $3 million company, a $5 million company, a $10 million company, it's very difficult. And there's only a select few. I don't know if Matt, you have the ability to Google right now but like the number of individuals that are able to build even $1 million company, it's a very small percentage. It's not everybody can do it. The overwhelming majority of people that go into business fail within the first 5 years. And the majority of people who didn't fail in those first 5 years that actually make money is even smaller. So it's what did you pull up a stat on?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
How many businesses or business owners will ever build $1 million company?
Yeah, let's see here. So in 2024, there were only, okay, here it is. 2024, there was 33.2 million businesses in the United States. Of those 32 million businesses, only 546,000 of those reached the $1 million level.
Yeah. So what percent is that? Like 2%?
Yeah, if that. And that's it. And then if you start looking under 500,000, there's 13 million. 500 to 900,000, there's 792. But then you get to the 2.5 to 5 million, there's only 200,000. And so you can see.
What about 10 million? Everybody that wants to be a new franchisee of ours or talks about building an exterior business, the floor for most people is $10 million. How many people have built a business over $10 million?
Yeah, over $10 million, it's only 100,000 basically. So,
and what's
not to say they did that. They didn't do that in 2024. Those are generations of trial and tribulations and effort and learning to fail and picking up those failures and fixing them for your business. And I think that's the cool thing with CR3. I think these franchisees come on, these small businesses. These small business owners come on to the franchise and they're saying, I want to get to the $10 million mark. I want to get to the $5 million mark. And Carnie, you get to tell them, look, everything that you're about to go through, I already went through. I've made every mistake that you can think of. We're still trying to get it right, but we've pretty much failed at everything and figured out what works. So you guys don't have to go through that. You guys still have to do the hard work and put in the hard work. But we failed, so you don't have to go through that. And that's the really cool thing. And I love the collaboration that, even these franchisees, they're still teaching us, they're still teaching you a lot of stuff that, it's a collaboration. They get the resources to be as successful as they want, but they're still teaching, you every single day stuff that you can implement in your business.
Yeah, it's when you have a ton of the same minds working on a singular mission, you can move so much faster. I mean, imagine if you had an entity that got formed and created today, in March 14th, 2025, whenever this goes live. Imagine if we got 17 to 20 business owners who had that business owner mentality, who all had an equity stake in a mission, and they all had a defined and certain skill set. Some are going to mix and mingle, like we're going to have people with similar skill sets, but everybody brings a unique perspective. Everybody brings their own unique set of skills and talents to the equation. So imagine if you were to put all those people in a room and say, for the next 365 days, we're just going to focus, put our head down, and build. And we're going to try and build the biggest, baddest company that we possibly can. That's what happens. I mean, you have the power of multiple minds all working towards one singular mission, and the compounding effort of those minds working together, it allows you to move so much faster. We're able to generate more revenue and more projects built and more steam in 30 days than we previously were able to do in 365 days, right? So the more people that you have on a singular mission, the faster that you can move. And it's getting all those minds to hone in and work and collaborate and bounce off of each other and challenge each other to look for better alternatives, and challenge the system and try and force and break that system to make sure that it truly is a scalable system, which we found out early on. I was just talking about this a few days ago. We built a relatively successful company in 4 years. We got it from 0 to 15 million in a relatively short time. I mean, you just read the stats. Imagine what the stats are to get to 15 million. So And we did that in just 4 short years. You brought up a great point that there's people who, I mean, it could be legacy where it's getting passed down from generation to generation to generation. We did it in 4 years. We packaged it up. We had a tech stack. We had some systems, processes, partners, and said, we're going to go ahead and go to market. We're going to start franchising this. And we found out after bringing in a few franchisees on that a lot of our infrastructure and our systems and the visibility and the control that we need as franchisors, but also our franchisees need, we didn't have it. We didn't have it with those partners. They weren't built for that type of model. They weren't built for a franchise model. They weren't built for scaling at that capacity. They weren't built for centralizing reporting, but decentralizing billing, right? So a ton of challenges that we faced very early on as starting out a new franchise, and you just have to grow and adapt. And the more that you challenge the system, the more that you challenge the individuals in the system, the more it forces them to have to adapt and change and find the appropriate partners, systems, processes, whatever, in order to make it work and make it work at scale. We always talk about the Chick-fil-A effect. Yeah. How do you create that customer experience that is rinse and repeat? It's replicatable. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida, Michigan, North Carolina, Arizona, Pennsylvania, South Carolina. It doesn't matter. How do you make sure a customer gets the exact same experience from location to location, to rep to owner? And it's very difficult. You have to have the right technology, the right training, the right operations manual, the right systems and processes in place. And we're trying to figure that out and perfect it every single day. And we're getting very close to that point in time. But it's an evolution, and it's always changing. The marketplace is changing, technology is changing, AI is coming in and getting more and more integrated. Consumer purchasing habits are changing. So once you think you have the system and the process down, guess what? In 30, 60, 90 days, you're going to be breaking it down, rebuilding it because something changed. So being able to adapt is huge. And these younger entrepreneurs and younger franchisees, they get the ability, they get the ability to learn and be a part of it firsthand, that just because something worked in the past doesn't mean it's what's going to get us to where we all want to go in the future.
And I think, I'm like you, Carnie. I love reading. I'm an avid reader. And one of my favorite books, Good to Great, I think it's one of the greatest self-improvement books out there. But something that's really stands out to me, and I read the book again the other day, and I always, every time I come upon this passage, I think it epitomizes exactly what CR3 is. But it says, what makes a corporation, take $1 billion corporation, from being really good to a great company? And they found through research and data and statistics and all that, it's not necessarily someone who has the most credentials coming into a business, right? There's a lot of different, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of different departments in large corporations, but you have to find the right people in order to make those departments great. And just because someone who's a really, really good person, a good employee, isn't succeeding in one department, doesn't mean they're not going to succeed in another one. So basically his synopsis was, find the right people and put them in the right place and work together, and you can grow as a company. Just because they're not succeeding in one avenue doesn't mean they're not going to succeed in another avenue. You just need to find exactly what they're really good at. And it's easier than, you could say, let's say you have someone from Yale, graduated from Yale, had a 4.0 and this and that. But maybe he has a horrible personality, or she has a horrible personality, and doesn't communicate well with other people, doesn't communicate well with customers, but, is really smart. We may not want them on your team, even though they have the most credentials. But you have another person who didn't go to college, and they're really good at selling. They're really smart. They're really good at conceptualizing and understanding what the future holds. They understand technology well. They're able to look outside the purview of things. Well, you want them on your team. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is CR3, to me, what CR3 represents is finding the right business owners from around the country who may have gotten to that $1 million mark, but doesn't exactly know how to scale that because they're missing some component in their business. But you bring them onto the CR3 team, and through that collaboration of this territory here and this territory here and you and then this territory and working together, it's finding the right people so you can all grow as one. And together we'll get to 10, 15, $20 million territories all around the country, and everybody's going to succeed, right? You're not doing it alone.
So one thing that I'd like to add to that is sometimes it's not necessarily the fact that the owner or the prospective franchisee, whoever's inquiring about joining CR3, sometimes it doesn't have as much to do with. Oftentimes it does. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to go, what to do, what to change, what to stop. Right. Sometimes they just need an unbiased third party to step in and say, you're screwing a bunch of shit up. Like, you're doing all the wrong things. You got to stop doing this, that, and the third. You have emotional connections to your crew. You're paying them way too much money. You may be overpaying employees. Like, we come in with an unbiased approach and we look at it for what it is. Numbers don't lie. We have certain percentages that we need to be allocating money to in order to hit a certain margin so that you're a profitable business. But sometimes that's really not it. Oftentimes it is, but a handful of times we run into people who they know exactly what needs to be done. They just don't have the time. They don't have the time. They don't have the resources. They know what needs to be done, but they might not know where to go get it. Right. So what we do is we allow them to focus on operating and running their business, which most people, especially if you're an operational type person, most of us are interested in just kind of running the business. We want to, in our industry, we want to service customers. We want to be building roofing systems and siding systems and installing windows and building and developing a team. Like that's the fun, sexy part of what we do. The back end business stuff, a lot of operators are really good at building and developing a team and selling projects and managing projects and cultivating relationships with customers. But the business side of it, they're not really good at because they don't have a ton of time or additional resources to allocate towards that objective or that mission. So what we do is we give these individuals that know where they need to go. They just don't have the time to dedicate, let's say 30, 60, 90 days to fully building out a CRM system the way that it needs to be built out for you to maximize it and create an incredible customer experience. Like, we have put in 90 to 120 days into a CRM system before we even launched it, which means Lord knows how many hours that is. It's so incredibly hard for an independent business owner who has a team to run and manage and customers to service and people calling about inspections and leaks and all this other, it's chaotic. And then they have their personal life that they need to try and keep the wheels on the bus as well, with relationships and children or friends or family members or whatever it may be. So what we do is we give them a solution to a tech stack and a system that we know works. And it's 99.9% of the time, it's far more advanced than the individual that obviously came in here, or they probably wouldn't see the benefits of it. But what it does is it allows those individuals to tap into the things that they knew they needed to do instantly without having to figure out when they're going to spend 90 or 120 days, day after day after day in a something. And that's just one facet of it, as a CRM system. So then you have to find the measurement softwares and make the connections to make everything talk and work, and then reporting and so on and so forth. So it's really a shortcut to where people know that they need to be. They just don't know how to get there or have the resources or time to get them there as well.
And I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a shortcut. You know, it's funny because Carnie, you I think when you started C3, which is obviously now CR3, but then C3, obviously you didn't go the franchising route, but you essentially did what these franchises are doing. You said, I'm really good at construction. I'm really good at finding roofs and selling, but I don't know how to scale this. So you went out and found yourself a Mark Luderman. Well, there's not many Mark Ludermans out there across the country. And basically what you're saying to these franchisees are, you need yourself a Mark Luderman because you're not going to be able to do all this by yourself. And you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice just a small portion of your company to grow tremendously. And that's exactly what you did. It was a big risk. It was a big leap. But you said, you know what, Mark, we can do this together. And then obviously, as time went on, you and Mark said, let's give the same system to everyone around the country. We need to franchise. And we know the concept of franchising, but we don't really know how to get started. So you guys went to John Hewitt and said, here's what we need to do. We need to bring John Hewitt on. And I think really what I'm learning being a part of this process, and I'm sure you've learned is, and you preach this all the time. And I'm sure this was a lot different 10 years ago. And, you're 30. So when you're 20, you probably weren't even thinking about this. But in order to really get to where you want to go, you need to be willing to bring on people who can get you there.
You have to have the right people. And there are not many shortcuts in life and business. But there is a cheat code, and the cheat code is what you just said, is getting the right people around you and on your team and on the same mission as you. When it came to franchising, we had an operations, like we had the operations down pat. We were running a relatively successful exterior company, but then you look at how do you actually take that to market, and like, what is franchising? Franchising is an industry in itself. Like construction's its own industry, hospitality is its own industry, healthcare is its own industry. Franchising is an industry, right? So it's a totally different industry that at the time me and my team knew nothing about. So how do we get knowledge? How do we get it quickly? How do we get some systems, some processes? How do we get relationships to attorneys, franchise attorneys? How do we understand the legal requirements wrapped around franchising and franchise development, what we can say, what we can't say, how to even get approved to do business in all these different states, right? That sounds like a massive undertaking. So what we were fortunate enough to do was to be able to find and source a partner that had previously, between his entire team, combined experience of 300 to 400 years in franchising. Well, that's a massive shortcut for me, right? I'm learning from individuals that have been in franchising for 50 plus years. So the amount of knowledge and information that I've gathered and gained over the last 2.5 years of being in franchising, for me to replicate that and go through the trials and tribulations by myself and not have an advisor or a mentor or somebody that I can bounce ideas off of who's already kind of been there, done that. It's relative to the same relationship as our franchisees. Do they do anything for me? Like actually physically do work? Not a whole lot, right? They're there to consult. They're there to help us to discover things on our own, but they will help to guide us and steer us in a certain direction and also keep us from falling hostage into a situation that they know is like, if they could see something coming from a mile away because they've been there before, they're going to yell at us and tell us like, hey, don't do that or you're going to get yourself in trouble. Yeah. So that it's a very similar relationship to what we have with the franchisees, which is like, we're not going to do any of the work for you. Like, we're not your employees. We don't work for you. We are going to provide you with an operating system and a platform to do business, but you have to go out and do the work. Same type of relationship that I have with my partners, right? Like, do they help us? Yeah, absolutely. Do they provide value? Absolutely. But like, are they in here with me right now in my office and telling me every button to push and every move to make and every place to invest money in? No, they help to guide and consult, but we still have to do the work. So it's, but there's a massive shortcut there, because if we don't know where to go or what to do next, we can bounce that off of somebody who's built a franchise system that had over 4,000 locations, right? So very fortunate to have people on your team. And if you want to go somewhere, you can get there a lot faster with people on your team. And when you have all of that energy focused on one mission, what you can do is enormous. And I always tell people, I'd rather have a smaller percentage of a really big company or a really big number than I would 100% of a $10 million company. I'd much rather have 20, 30, 40, 50%, whatever it is, of a $1 billion exterior company than 100% of $10 million. Like, it's a no brainer, but in order to get there, you have to have buy-in, you have to have people on your team, and even people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. I don't know what the exact figures are, but I know it's around 10%ish that they own of their companies, and they're the two richest people in the entire world. Yeah. So that tells you that those guys are willing to invest in other people and outside sources to help to bring them resources. Sometimes that resource is just money. Other times it's skill and a team and some infrastructure to help to support this long-term mission. But even the richest people in the entire world who have massive influence. They only own 10% of their company. And fortunately for our strategic partners and franchisees, we don't own their company. They own 100% of it. It's a different, it's not a partnership, right? We're providing them an operating system and a license to do business. And obviously they pay us a royalty, but we don't own that entity. They do. So
Right. And that royalties essentially, royalties really essentially, just think of it as a consulting fee. I mean, like I said, before you brought on Mark, you were paying a consulting fee because you needed a consultant. Yeah. That's all it is. But I just want to end this as we're approaching the end of this podcast. I just want to tell you one of the coolest things to me that I'm seeing through this whole process is watching, and obviously I'm not going to name names, but watching some of these strategic partners have so much success in their company. And now they're starting to get into the conversation of, I think we're ready to open up a second branch. And you're saying, you know, like, we grew this together and now I get to watch you succeed. And I trust you to open up a second branch and build a second branch that you're going to succeed at. Watching the growth together, and that to me is really exciting because that's the epitome of what you're trying to grow, is something that you can, it's sustainable, and helping these franchise strategic partners, you know, really sustain long-term growth and find that they have the opportunity to scale a company and open up new territories.
Yeah, it's a super cool thing to be a part of and be able to watch and be a contributing member to other people's success. It's the same thing with employees. Like, you have employees that come in and you watch them. Some employees stay stagnant and they just are who they are. They're good at what they're good at and they don't really elevate or change. They're very monotone, right? And then you have other employees that just kind of grab life by the horn and business by the horn, and you see them. They start buying houses, they start building a family, they start building a life, they're stacking away X amount of money. They might be reinvesting some money into real estate. So it's really cool to see it with employees. But when you look at franchisees, to see them and some people who lacked the confidence to go out and start a business themselves, and to see them kind of grab into and lean into this relationship and be their own business owner and see how much it's changing their life, and to be able to watch their bank accounts increase month over month over month, and to know that it's really, like, it's changing their life forever. It's changing their family's life forever in a lot of cases. So it's just a really cool thing to be a part of and be able to have that level of impact on people. And really, they're doing it themselves. We're just giving them some framework and guidance. So, like, all the credit it goes to them, right? It doesn't go to me. It doesn't go to our team. It really, because we've had individuals come in here and they're dud, right? Like, you put two people through the same training, the same operating system, the same everything. One person will say it's my market, right? Like, everybody has an excuse for why they can't do well, but then you have somebody who started at the same exact time who's kicking ass and taking names. So it's all in the individual, but it's so cool, man, to see people who lack that confidence and we're not ready to go out on business on their own. And maybe we pushed them a little bit to do it. And then to see that it's a very positive thing and see how it's impacting their life. And really, we're talking about a year and a half, 2 years of them being with us now. And I'm super excited and grateful to be a part of seeing them develop and grow on a personal level, but also a business and professional level for the next 10 plus years, right? I can only imagine how powerful some of these franchisees and owner operators are going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15. I've only been doing this for 7 years, right? So I imagine if you put another 10 years behind me and my team, and then you do that for a franchisee, it's just such a cool thing to be a part of, and very grateful to have the opportunity to change people's lives, the franchisees. And then the impact that we have as a whole, we don't talk about it much, but we have over 100 people at our org who work for either us directly or the franchisees. And to know that we have that level of impact over people, and we're able to help people to build a lifestyle and sustain their family and support for their family. It's just cool, man. And it doesn't stop at just the employees and the owners, like the subcontractors. They're all providing, we're providing them with money for them to feed their family and support their family and chase their own goals. The distributors, the people who sell us product, right? Our impact is very, very, very big, and it's only getting bigger. And to be able to be leading that impact I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome. Well, Carnie, I appreciate you coming on for the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. And again, let's get you back on here in a few weeks, next week hopefully, and let's keep growing this thing.
Sounds good, dude. I like your office, by the way.
Yeah, I hijacked it from you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Everybody have a great weekend, Matt. We'll talk soon, man.
All right.